Hello there, good evening. Welcome to a special edition of Look North. Tonight, the devastation after the floods. After 3 days of heavy rain and flooding, many parts of our region have been devastated. Here in Catcliffe, people take shelter after losing everything.
I'm upset, I've lost everything, I've got nothing. I just walked out with my pyjamas on, I've lost everything, I've got no insurance. It's my whole life's here, it's just gone. I can't believe it.
People in some of the worst affected parts of our region have told us they feel forgotten by the authorities. The Environment Agency admits people have been let down. We'll ask why defences failed. Also tonight, anger over the death of a woman in her flooded home in Chesterfield. The fire service says conditions were unlike anything they've seen before.
I have to fork out and I have to do all the hard work. We have to do all the hard work. I understand. Because that is us. It's all on us.
And in Retford, residents voice their frustrations to the Environment Minister as she visits the streets hit by flooding.
And of course, I'll be back with that detailed week ahead forecast. There is another warning in place for rain tonight and into tomorrow. And I've got some statistics which highlight just how bad the rain and the floods were on Friday and over the weekend. Join me for the very latest.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Catcliffe for a special programme. The water levels may have subsided, but hundreds of homes here and across our region have been absolutely devastated by that flooding. This is Simon and Claire's house, and as you can see, floorboards have been lifted up, sofas are out here, the whole of the downstairs has been thrown outdoors. Tonight we're going to have a look at the impacts that this flooding has brought, as the Environment Agency has admitted that people here in this village have been let down. Let's take a look first at the picture across our region. A major incident was declared in Derbyshire on Friday. 1,700 properties were flooded and parts of Chesterfield were inundated. On Saturday, the body of housebound Maureen Gilbert was found in her flooded home. River levels in Catcliffe near Rotherham peaked on Saturday. 250 homes were evacuated. And yesterday afternoon, 500 people were told to leave their homes in Retford in Nottinghamshire. There are more than 50 flood warnings currently in place and alerts. They remain in place this evening. We're going to start tonight's programme here in Catcliffe. After the 2007 floods, new defences were installed and people were promised that this would never happen again. They hoped and prayed that that was true. Phil Bodmer reports.
They hoped it would never happen again, but in Catcliffe, history has repeated itself. Streets underwater, homes evacuated, residents rescued after the River Rother spilled over. The last floods on this scale happened in 2007. This weekend, the nightmare returned.
So, Susan, how far did the water come up into your house?
Right, if you could walk this way, you can see there.
Wow. So that's what, 3 foot, is it, at least?
Yeah, that's where the water come to.
Is today your first day into the house?
Yes.
What's it like?
Come on, show you.
Sue's house was one of hundreds engulfed by floodwater.
I can't open that. That is...
Just won't open, will it?
It just won't open. Oh, it is. There you go.
So this is the first time you've seen inside here?
Yes, and it's a mess. It looks like it's all been underwater. Yeah.
All her possessions in every room ruined.
We didn't get no warning.
No warnings?
We got up at... my husband got up at 4:10 and opened the door, and I got up because I heard noises on by, and I said, "What's going on?" He went, "You better have a look at this," and it was just flooded.
Cleaning up this mess will take time. Almost every surface covered in a slimy, stinking sludge.
Good roll. Trying to keep a brave face.
Many residents now have questions about how this could happen for a second time in just 16 years.
I've lost everything, I've got nothing. I just walked out with my pyjamas on, I've lost everything, I've got no insurance. It's my whole life's here, it's just gone. can't believe it.
For Sharon, utter despair.
Just don't know what to do. Don't know what to do.
I know you didn't. You said to me you didn't want to come into the property,
No,
did you?
I didn't want to come in. Because I knew he were going to do this to me, because I don't even know where my mum's ashes are.
But I suspect you're probably going to be out of his house for some time, I would imagine.
Months, apparently. Yeah. But I don't want to come back. I don't want to be here anymore. It's really got me.
Well, if you want an illustration of just how high the flood water came up, this is Sharon's car. The roof was completely submerged, and then as the level started to subside, you can see where the tide mark is here. This will be a complete write-off. Locals say the floodwaters came quickly and went slowly. The physical evidence of what happened here will soon be gone, but the psychological impact will not be forgotten. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North, Catcliffe.
This is Catcliffe Memorial Hall. The doors were opened in the early hours of Saturday morning for residents to come who were evacuated from the homes. As you can see, there's clothing, there's food. There's been lots of volunteers down here over the weekend. And then there's some housing advisors as well who are offering residents support, really, of what they can do next. Chris Reid is the leader of Rotherham Council. Thank you for your time, Chris. What are you telling people? 120 people, homes have been devastated. What can they do?
First and foremost, our hearts go out to all those people who are affected. It really is a tragedy for all those affected. First and foremost, for a lot of people, talk to your insurers. Where you've got insurance, that's your first port of call. But we know there'll be a number of people who aren't insured who need particular support from the council. They can find us here, they can contact us on the usual telephone number, and our officers, our staff are there to help them.
Many residents have been here and lived through the floods in 2007. They were promised it wouldn't happen again after those flood defences were built. Why did it?
Well, there'll be a review over the coming months, a formal piece of work that looks at what were the specific failings that meant that this happened this time. What we know already is that the river was a record high, higher than it's ever been recorded at, and that's just come over the flood defences here. The council's had pumps out over the weekend, draining that water. Often when levels are high, that's enough. It hasn't been just because of the volume of water this time.
Many residents are telling us that today has been the first day they've had any council presence down on the estates. Why has no one been here before?
So we've had staff here all weekend. They've been here since Friday night and certainly since Saturday morning. But I understand for a lot of residents, they need that help where they need it. So my message for them is come and find us here, contact us on the phones, let us know what it is that you need from the council, and we're there to help.
What assurances can you give people that this won't happen again?
So I can't guarantee that it won't happen again. It'd be wrong for me to stand here and say that it could. What I can say is that we're building a programme of flood defences in the borough. We need £29 million from the government to complete that programme as it stands. And when this review is done, when we really understand what's happened here, that of course will become part of those plans.
Chris Reid, thank you. You know, today it's felt so busy around here as people have been pulling things out their property, trying to clear it out, mop it down. Now it feels like a ghost town, as obviously people can't stay in their homes. Marcella lives just around the corner from here. Your home has been flooded, Marcella. First of all, how are you doing?
It's not been great. The last few days were devastating for us all. It's been very hard, and I still can't believe it, what just happened and where we're going to be in the next few months.
Just talk me through what condition your house is in at the moment, because we went there earlier, didn't we? And it is heartbreaking, Marcella.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, you're all right.
All downstairs is destroyed. I'm glad I had some time before evacuation. We could move some stuff upstairs. But today, going into the house, it was heartbreaking. Everything is destroyed. The smell, the mud on the floor. The water was about 1 meter, 50 centimeters high. It's really heartbreaking. We don't know what's going to happen to us now, and we don't know what to do.
Well, all the best to you and your daughter, and do keep in touch, won't you, Marcella?
Thank you.
Thank you. As you can see, it's so upsetting for everyone who lives here. All their possessions have gone. And it's not just here in Catcliffe, but different areas of our region. We're going to cross now to Chesterfield and the death of Maureen Gilbert. Her body was found by her son Paul in her flooded home on Saturday. He said that the emergency services were just unable to get to her. Now, the fire service has said to us that the town was like anything that they'd ever seen before. They'd never seen anything like it. Kathy Killick has spent the day on Tapton Terrace, and that's where Maureen lived.
Flowers in memory of a much-loved neighbour whose body was found in the flooded ground floor of her house on Tapton Terrace. Maureen Gilbert had lived here all her life. The whole street is in shock.
The whole neighbourhood is devastated. As a community, we're a very close-knit community down here, and we are absolutely devastated. We thought she was upstairs, safe. We had no idea that she was downstairs at all. It's just absolutely awful. I just can't find words for a family, and the thoughts of what she must have gone through that day must have been horrendous.
Maureen's son Paul found her body. He'd begged fire crews to take her to safety on Friday and is struggling to comprehend why they didn't.
They wanted to give up. I basically told them that if they gave up, I was going to come and do it. So they had another one try, which the team did come down. They said they tried smashing the glass even further, but the glass was shattered and it would have left shards everywhere. Feeling that you have been let down all the times that you've spoke about things and asked for things to be done. Nothing. We don't feel nothing got done for us.
A police and fire investigation into what went on is now underway. Clive Stanbrook was in charge of the fire services response on Friday.
To lose one of our communities, absolutely devastating, and each one of us feel it very, very personally.
Paul says he feels let down and that you gave up.
The firefighters on a daily basis genuinely put our lives on the line to help anyone we can in the communities of Derbyshire. The situation on Friday and all over this weekend was incredibly testing with limited light and incredibly fast-flowing water. So we do constantly all we possibly can.
The wreckage bears testimony to the sheer force of the water, even sheds left unmoored and toppling. Elliot Squires and his family have lost nearly all their possessions, and following the last floods here in 2007, have no insurance either.
It's just years of work that's just gonna be knocked down and ripped down. My wife's craft sheds, my son's sensory shed, all gone. Hot tubs in there on its side, so they just rebuild.
Well, this house belongs to Dave. He's 76 and doesn't want to appear on camera because he's too upset, and you can see why. A lifetime collection of models and mementos just gone. He slept in his car last night, but like everyone on this terrace, counts himself lucky to be alive. A life lost, 26 homes wrecked, and peace of mind swept away in a deluge unlike anything residents here have seen before. Kathy Killick, BBC Look North, Chesterfield.
And of course our thoughts are with Maureen's family. So that's the situation in Chesterfield. Let's take a look at Retford now, because at one point yesterday 2 severe weather warnings were in place there. That means potential risk to life. That has now been downgraded, but 500 people were told to leave their homes. Tom Ingle has spent the day in Retford, and we can cross live to him now. Tom.
Good evening, Amy. Darrell Road in Retford was by no means the only place in the town to have to deal with the danger of flooding, but it is somewhere where the water still has a chokehold on people's back gardens. Take a look at that shed over there with the white doors. The water still halfway up the panes, and it hasn't really diminished all day. But of course, just because the water is no longer coursing through your house, it does not mean the danger or the damage is completely over.
That's the bottom there. So we're 19 inches deep under floorboards, and that'll be, it all runs the same, so there'll be a void all the way to that brick wall, so it'll be 19 inches deep to the front of the house.
But you just get philosophical, because you just know that nobody really cares. This is a 1 week wonder. 2 weeks' time, Retford, where's Retford? Nobody's ever heard of Retford.
A common theme I've heard today is where has the assistance been? So you'll be surprised, just like the residents were, to learn of a visit by the Secretary of State, Therese Coffey, no less. She spent a good half an hour here with the Bassetlaw MP, Brendan Clark-Smith. But the people feeling very angry and frustrated and distressed were not shy about voicing their opinions to her.
It will be again. Yeah, but I have to fork out and I have to do all the hard work. We have to do all the hard work because that is us. It's all on us. We want it all on you now. You've got to do it. You deal with it.
We said one day it's going to happen again. It's happened again, and now everybody's down again. Now, you'll go away again. No, I'm sorry to say, you'll go away again, and if the thing will happen, you'll be swept under the carpet, and yet again we'll be left.
It so happens I was due to be meeting the Chief Executive of the Environment Agency to go through where we are on our programme.
Yeah.
Because between 15 and 21, we spent £2.6 billion of taxpayers' money on flood defences. That protected over 300,000 homes across the country. We've actually allocated £5.2 billion. It just so happens today was going to be the day we were going to go through where we are. So I won't say that's timely, because I can't tell you if there was a specific project related for this area. But I can assure you it's not a lack of investment happening. But I understand your concerns about how this has affected your home. And Lucy, I hope it will be your home again soon.
For some people on this street, they're out of their homes for the second time since 2007, living their lives hour to hour, wondering where they're sleeping tonight, where the next hot meal is coming from. Amy, you and I should both be very grateful. We're hopefully going home to warm beds tonight.
Tom, thank you. Well, as you can see, houses here in Catcliffe are an absolute mess. You can see the damage inside Steve and Claire's home. There's a really strong smell of bleach coming out the front as they try and get rid of that awful smell of sewage and damp that's been here in many of the other homes on this street. Well, the flooding here on Saturday morning seems to have taken the Environment Agency by surprise. This is what they told us on Look North on Thursday.
In the round, Keely, we're not that concerned. Minor impact is expected, but where we are gearing ourselves up is that we always like to go for the worst case scenario, and that worst case scenario would be in the lowland areas of Yorkshire.
Well, I caught up with Frank de Planter this afternoon and I asked him if they got it wrong.
Get it wrong. Water is a funny old thing. It popped up where we were least expecting it. If I'm honest, Retford was the last place that I foresaw a flood.
Yesterday, this area was still waist deep in water. There's been criticism that there was no one here. Why not?
These things take time to build up. The agency had pumps on site by 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. They were pumping by 6.
But people were cleared out of their homes on Saturday.
That's a Rotherham Borough Council issue. They deal with that side of the business.
After the floods in 2007, these flood defences were built. Why didn't they work?
They didn't hold because the calculations at the time told us that was the level they needed to be built to. We're now into climate change, and we're into the bizarreness of water. Water, as I say, is a funny old thing. It pops up all over the place.
So that was 16 years ago. How often are they checked to see if they are fit for purpose?
One's on a 1 in 3 year programme, and our chaps come out and they check that everything is working. And from what we could see from the last check, everything was fine.
Many people here have been through this before, Frank, 16 years ago. The devastation is awful for them who've lost everything. What reassurance can you give them, if any?
We work in the world of flood risk. Climate change is throwing a completely different approach to this, and that's what we're trying to work out. What do we need to do to the defences? But we're here to do our best, and occasionally the water does what we don't expect it to do.
There is more rain forecast, Frank, so what's next? What's the plan?
Well, we're prepared. What we're seeing on all our charts is the water is coming down significantly, and we think there'll be enough capacity in the river to deal with the next band of rain that's coming.
Well, Frank de Planter there from the Environment Agency saying that this is down to climate change. I've been asking Paul how the flooding here this weekend compares to what we've seen in previous years and if this sort of rainfall was forecast.
Well, I'm sad to say it was. I mean, we had warnings in place as early as Monday of last week. We suggested 40 to 80 millimetres at lower levels, in excess of 100 millimetres in some spots. And, you know, the data shows that really that's what we got.
And how does this compare to the flooding that we've seen the past 20 years, Paul?
I mean, that's a really good question. I've crunched the numbers this morning. Look at Sheffield Weston Park. The data goes back to 1882. The average for October is 80 millimetres. Now, from Thursday through to Saturday morning, we had 126.1 millimetres. I've chosen the big flood of 2007, June 2007, when we had 135.4 millimetres. So actually, the two events are comparable, and perhaps it's a surprise we've not seen the widespread flooding that we saw back in 2007. Perhaps the flood defences have put paid to that, but it was a comparable rainfall event. And, I just invite you to listen to some of the statistics I've dug up this morning. 2023 so far, June, the second warmest on record, July, the second wettest on record, September, the warmest on record, October the 20th, the wettest October day on record. You go back 4 years, 2019, the wettest year on record, wettest autumn on record, wettest November on record. The 3 wettest autumns have all happened since 2000. It's pretty clear when you look at the climate record that we are living through quite an abrupt change to our climate. Scientists several years ago thought it would be a gradual change, but the data shows that it is pretty abrupt. We're having much more rainfall in a short period of time, which is leading to big pressure on the river network.
And it's not what people of Catcliffe want to hear, but there is more rain to come.
Sadly, there is. We've got perhaps 20 millimetres or more to come in the next 24 hours, a warning in place, and it looks unsettled for the foreseeable future as we head into November.
Paul, thank you. OK, we're going to move away from the flooding now and to another big news story today. A coroner has found a large number of failures by the probation service contributed to the deaths of 4 people who were murdered in Killamarsh near Sheffield 2 years ago. Terry Harris and 3 children were all killed by Damien Bendel in 2021. He was out of prison on licence at the time after a previous crime. Ollie Constable has this.
The inquests heard how the probation service was facing significant issues while dealing with Bendel, who's being handled following a previous crime he committed. The coroner today, Peter Nieto, said the service failed to adequately record and risk assess the danger he posed to both his pregnant partner, Ms Harris, and children, despite his long history of violence. After admitting a previous crime, Bendel was told he must serve a curfew at Ms Harris's home, something the coroner said was not properly risk assessed. This was because an inexperienced trainee staff member at the probation service had written a wholly inadequate and misleading report about the murderer. Months before the killings, Bendel had also told the external company who fitted his electronic ankle tag that he would go on to kill his family if this relationship goes bad, but the comment was not reported back to the probation service. Earlier solicitors acting on behalf of the families said this outside court.
The hardest thing for them to accept is how failings by the authorities exposed their children to a serious risk of harm. Jason and Kerry believe that if appropriate measures had been taken, their children would still be alive today.
The probation service has continuously failed to do enough to protect women and children like Terry and our grandchildren.
The probation service accepted 51 separate failings at the inquests, dating back years, with Mr Nieto finding some of those had contributed to the deaths. Bendel continues to serve a whole life sentence. Ollie Constable, BBC Look North, Chesterfield.
Back here in Catcliffe, you can see behind me just how high that water level rose up the wall. And as Paul said earlier, there is more rainfall to come. Paul, tell us the forecast. What can we expect?
Yes, there is a warning in place, and once we get locked into a sequence like this, previous autumns tells us that this can go on for several weeks. But before we get on with the forecast, a look at a little bit of brightness. It's been quite a dull day today, but this is just a beautiful picture up at Ribblesdale with a little bit of sun peeking through the clouds, and this could be a painting, couldn't it? That was sunrise in Scarborough taken by Beverly first thing this morning. So if you've got any pictures you want on the television, Twitter, Instagram and the Weather Watcher website is the place to go. Not that there'll be much to photograph tomorrow because it's looking like another rotten day with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. As I pointed out earlier, there is a warning in place, 10 to 20 millimetres of rain, perhaps 40 in 1 or 2 spots. Obviously not the quantities we saw on Friday, but it does add to what is saturated ground. So there's that system. A quieter day on Wednesday. A lot of mist and fog could be slow to clear, otherwise some sunshine. Another weather front bringing rain through Wednesday night. And then this area of low pressure is just anchored to the west of us and will spin up showers, perhaps some longer spells of rain. But from Thursday onwards, at least, there will be some sunshine in between those showers. So the next area of trouble just coming through the English Channel up to the southeast, and that's going to trundle northwestwards during the course of the night, probably coming into us around midnight or shortly afterwards. So it is largely fine at the moment, fairly quiet, a lot of cloud, mistiness, but there's that rain first of all into South Yorkshire, then North and West Yorkshire. The greens indicate some heavy bursts in places, yet another commute with a lot of surface spray, and we'll see temperatures coming in at around 8 or 9 degrees. Tomorrow's high water times in Filey at 1:32, Bridlington 1:49, just one in the 24-hour period. So a dismal day to come tomorrow with outbreaks of rain, heavy at times, drizzle, low cloud over the hills. Just see a bit of a clearance coming into that crucial flooded South Yorkshire area. That's good news, perhaps a bit of brightness later. But the weather front just sits really across West Yorkshire, North Yorkshire through the whole day. The very best we can expect is for that rain just to gradually ease off as we head into tomorrow evening. Temperatures coming in at around 12 Celsius, that is 54 Fahrenheit. So for Wednesday, a quieter day, mist and fog might be slow to clear elsewhere. There will be some sunshine around, rain Wednesday night. And then as you can see, it's just sunshine and showers, some of which will be heavy into the weekend. Amy, back to you in Catcliffe.
Paul, thank you. Well, I'm joined now by Matt Gillett from South Yorkshire Fire and Rescue. Matt, I'm sure it's been a really busy weekend for you and your colleagues. How are you preparing for the wet weather that's to come? 50 warnings and alerts in place for floods.
Yeah, so there is predicted more wet weather over the coming days across South Yorkshire and across the wider region. So it is about working with partners, EA, Met Office, local authorities to ensure that all the plans are prepared and ready to go if we do get more floods.
How can people prepare themselves? Because many people here say that this weekend took them by surprise. What can they do to eliminate the damage?
It is very difficult to prepare for when you get rainfall that comes down so quickly, but if you know that floods are imminent, it's about moving things upstairs, trying to prepare yourself best you can, those important documents, items of furniture that you can get upstairs, and that's the best thing to do.
People here in Catcliffe say that they feel abandoned by the authorities. Where will you be focusing your efforts over the next few days?
So we've been here in the community over the last few days, and we will continue to do so. We'll go wherever the community needs us in times of an emergency, or once that emergency is over in the clean-up phase, we'll be there to support the communities.
OK, Matt, thank you very much for your time and take care.
Thank you.
Well, we've been here in the area of Catcliffe all day, and many people have thanked us for being here, for reporting their story of what's been happening, because they say that they've felt let down by the council, by the emergency services. Investigations are continuing to find out what happened. Take care. There is more flooding to come. That's it from us. Good night.